Welcome to episode 31 of Pokemon Blue, and it's a very, very special episode. As you can see, some things happened on the toolbox. I guarantee you I didn't grind those levels. I'm showing off their stats because we're about to do something special. You see that all their power points are maxed out. They got some rare candies, and they have their final move sets. So feel free to pause and check out stats and moves and stuff if you want. I'm just showing them off so you can see what the end result is, what the end plan was. Double kick, pin missile. Pin missile's new. And Blue Durgan's final move set from out of nowhere. But yeah, that's what we're dealing with as we move on over to something else as soon as I save in the Pokemon Center for a very special reason that basically spoils what the title of this video won't. Yep. That's right. It's time for Pokémon Stadium. I told you I'd probably end up playing this for the playthrough. This is my favorite Gen 1 game. How can I skip it? Although I'm playing on Project 64, which I've never had a great experience with because apparently the N64 is just awkward to emulate. But it gives me an option. Hi, Mewtwo. That's not ominous at all. For those of you who understand Pokemon Stadium, no, these are the daytime levels. I didn't feel like playing up to the nighttime stages. However, that's probably for the best because this team could not handle the Master Ball Cup. I tried. I really did. But like I said, if you want to know if something's good or bad, you try it in Pokemon Stadium. And this team is, it has a few weaknesses to it. That means it can't really handle the harder difficulties of Pokemon Stadium. So, daytime Master Ball Cup on the Poke's Cup, I think this is level 50 tournament. I think it's the Poke Cup, but I'm not sure on that, don't quote me. Couldn't handle the Master Ball Cup. Could only do the Ultra Ball Cup. So I'm starting with Boner for a very special reason. He, and yes, it's a he, I bred it, so I know, is the biggest weakness on my team. Now, you might not know it from watching, the normal playthrough, the normal game, but the mainline games are never the good indicator of what's good or bad. Everything is viable in the mainline games to a point until you start to get to the end game stuff. But he's one of the biggest weaknesses on my team, and if I expect to show him off at all, it's going to have to be the first round. So he can't do it anywhere else. Especially in Gen 1. Marowak is awful in Gen 1. And that was me not thinking correctly. I figured maybe I'll do enough damage, but no. If one Boomerang wasn't enough, then one Double Edge wasn't going to be enough. And the battles in this game can take a while because of the animations, but it's worth it because it's fun to watch. And the announcer is a very, very cheesy guy. Like, he's hammy. It's awesome. I'll shut up at some point and let you just listen to him, but that time the Double Edge was enough. That's about the only fight you're going to see Boner win. That's the whole... He can't handle what's next. And it's sad because it's only a Venomoth, but it knows Mega Drain. And it's faster because Marowak has abysmal speed. So, it'll survive this Mega Drain, thankfully, but the Rock Slide that was going its way was not enough to knock it out, so... I switch because I am not going to waste my free perfect. And perfects give you continues for if you lose, but I wasn't going to waste my perfect just because Marowak can't handle a Venomoth. It's not... I didn't know it was going to use Mega Drain. That's why Stadium's awesome. It was going to use a side beam anyway. I don't know why it switched. The Mega Drain was still its better move at the time. And Stadium, I don't think, actually reads your inputs. Like, I have plenty of proof to suggest the AI doesn't read inputs in Stadium. And, in fact, it learns. It's weird. Like, depending on what you're doing, Stadium will change what it's doing. It's kind of cool like that. I mean, it's an N64 cart, so of course it is more sophisticated than a Game Boy cart, but... Oh, I love this game. And the way they have Muck spelled, like, reminds me of what Muck spells when it's spelled backwards. I think we all know that, though. And it's so fitting. But no, Critty's more than enough for the remainder of this fight. Which is unfortunate because Bubba was another thing that I chose here because I wasn't sure if I was going to get an opportunity to show him off or not, because believe it or not, he's another, as far as the Poké Cup goes, he's another weakness, like, in that he's just not as good as my other four things. Well, and even Dragonair to a point is a weakness because he doesn't really have the stats to back him up, but we'll see more of that soon. As this guy's always rough because the second guy in every tier of the Poké Cup uses 3 electric things and 3 grass things, and it's really hard for this team to plan around, I find. But I'll be starting with Blue Durgan, so you'll get to see why Blue Durgan's not necessarily the best thing for the Poké Cup.
What kind of battle can we expect to see? Begin round 2.
I choose Electabuzz.
I love that Electabuzz cry. Oh, old school Pokemon anime is great. And so I actually anticipated this Thunder Wave, because if it's electricity, or if it's an electrical type in Pokemon Stadium, it's going to open with a Thunder Wave, but I wasn't faster, so the agility didn't matter as much. Agility, as I mentioned before, counteracts the speed loss to paralysis, so I was kind of hoping that I could at least use that, but now it won't matter. Yeah, this is going to be a fun fight. Neither of us can damage the other, and I'm paralyzed. Actually, I'm 3 shots away. Or at least I get him in 3 hits. The Stadium can sometimes devolve into this. Actually, Pokemon as a whole usually devolves into this, but... well. And he'll just change to submission now for some reason. I don't know why he didn't use that from the get-go. It's better than Mega Punch, but whatever. I'll get the knockout thanks to him. And the fact that Blue Durgan refuses to be paralyzed. But alas, Blue Durgan's not in the greatest shape, and I'm not willing to take another hit just to save something that's paralyzed. Not even for the continue that I could potentially get. I have one, that's all I really need. And in Stadium, it's not shameful to use your continues, because Stadium's a hard game. Like, I wish that I could have beat the Master Ball Cup. Because it's a hard cup. It's all of the fights in that were really, really good fights, except I could never get past round 4 or 5. I don't remember which. So I decided to I'll just record the Ultra Ball instead. As a result, like the first 4 or 5 fights are really easy. But I promise you, there's some good fights in here. This one in and of itself isn't bad. It's just, now that I've got Weed out, it's basically over. I'm debating in my head whether or not to use Swords Dance or not, because Vile Place is weak. That's its stupid nickname. He wouldn't be able to survive a body slam. But at the same time, I don't know what's coming up next. And I know for sure, unless he does this, Weed, you know, could easily get the Swords Dance off. And the Stun Spore missed anyway, so it was the right decision ultimately. So I'm not so sure I could have done as good in the next fight without that Swords Dance, and I have it up now instead of doing it then. This game can make you actually think about what you're doing as opposed to the mainline games. And when I talk about the mainline games, I'm not talking endgame material, like the battle towers or the Poké Trains or anything. And especially not multiplayer. Multiplayer, you have to think like this too, but just the basic story of the main games. Shenanigans, I know. I get through 3 paralyses with Bluderigan and his Tango Ace. Yeah, couldn't get through the one. Vileplume is really good. I don't know if you knew that or not. And when he body slams, he does that ridiculous penis pedo thing that Luigi does in Smash Brothers. So that's always awesome. Now we're fighting a juggler. Now, I'll give you the count of 5 to guess what I'm trying to plan around. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's Gengar. I'm worried about the Gengar. I remember that specifically. As I was trying to figure out what I was going to do about that Gengar, because you can only use 3 things at a time, it really makes it interesting to think about, because you're trying to plan around something specific, but you're not even sure it's going to be used, and if it is used, when it's going to be used. So, you're trying to come up with these plans in your head, and that Gengar was the thing I was worried the most about, because it's a Gengar in Pokémon Stadium. I knew how it was going to go down. Unfortunately, I went with Critty first, and that's not a good lineup for this Primeape. This fight's actually really interesting. Now watch Stadium learn. Watch Pokemon Stadium's AI learn. Because it's going to counter. And I'm thinking in terms of stupid AI. So I'm like, oh, this Primeape's playstyle is just to use counter. Well, okay. So I'm going to sit here and Swords Dance 3 times to max my attack before doing anything. But it's going to stop countering now. And the fight's going to get really weird. This match is really weird. Well, that could be bad, but what happens is actually a lot worse. Technically speaking. Because that Gengar that I was planning around comes out in time for the body slam I just used. Like an arsehole. Normal types can't hit ghost types if you didn't know. Or normal type moves can't hit ghost type Pokemon if you didn't know. And so I Razor Leaf to test the waters, and of course he's Hypnosising because I knew he would. Because he's going to use Dream Eater. It missed like I hoped it would. I missed like I hoped I wouldn't. I'm not going to risk it anymore, so I swap again.
They strike fighting poses. The Pokemon returns to its Pokeball.
Because Weed's good. Not against Gengar. Jolteon's good against everything, however, and he's here to save my team. Because if Marowak is a huge weakness in my team, Jolteon, Thundercat, he is the savior. He's the saving grace. But of course, I don't know how this is going to go, so I want to paralyze him. It's always good to paralyze first before you start unloading with Jolteon, just in case something happens. Not that he seems to be able to hit with that hypnosis. Alright, let's see how overpowered you are. Gengar has such a huge special. It's so good to deal that much damage to something with so high a special. But this could be bad because he's going to start Dream Eating. Because that's what Gengar does in Stadium. Because that's what I do with Gengar in Gen 1. But I'm a punk with the status effects and I just wake up. Oh. Eat it, Gengar. You can't outspeed me. And you can't survive what happens next. Even if you would have swapped, he couldn't survive. Because he only has a Primate left. No, he has two things at this point. What is the third thing? Oh yeah, the Chansey. How could I forget about that? It's what makes this fight so interesting. Chansey has a lot of hit points and a huge special. Unfortunately, I have double kick. A move that I harp on for not normally being so useful. This is just about the most useful situation. Chansey. I forget about Chansey all the time. Chansey is the reason you give Jolteon double kick. Because now Chansey can't wall your Jolteon. So I'm gonna I don't know what that little arm thing it does before it leaves is, but it's kind of awesome. But it's gonna keep trying, but he can't get me to sleep. It's so amazing. So not only am I gonna get a perfect this match, but I've swapped 3 times and I still haven't taken a single hit. Because I'm a punk. I love this fight. I promise, though, these matches get more interesting and more fun. It's just, you know, I wish I could have done the Master Ball Cup, but I couldn't get past it. This team just doesn't have enough. With a dead Primeape, we're actually approaching the end of the video. We'll do the other 5 rounds next time. Have a good day, everybody. See you later.